On this episode, I'm going to be showing how I set up my new hunting arrow for this year. I went over to my good buddy Greg Bedsworth's house where he cut down my arrows and installed the 100 grain inserts. That's going to be the new thing, is a little bit heavier arrow, and try two different fletchings, the Max or the hybrids from Arizona Archery. So I'm going to be taking off the fletchings on these Gold Tip Hunter XT 340s. I got this little tool here. There, just like that. And you just slide it off.
Why?
Because I'm going to change the fletchings. So I'll put that on there. And I'll sit there, taking all that glue and all that old vein off. Alright. See how it's taking that glue off?
Yeah. Okay.
Alright, so I got the veins off this one. I'll do to the rest of them, and then I'll put the arrow wraps on them and start fletching. Right. So now I got everything laid out. My arrows are all clean. I got all the old fletchings off, and everything is ready to go. What I'm going to be doing now is putting on the arrow wraps. I'm using a koozie cup, but you can use a mouse pad or something that is soft. It really helps putting on the arrow wraps. Works really well. As you can see, using this koozie cup, it fits it perfect and does a nice job. On this arrow, I am going to do the orange, the hybrids. And as you can see, the difference in between them. I'm gonna do the same, the four vein, and do the offset like I always do. But got one arrow made in this, and I'm gonna do an arrow with these, and shoot and compare the two, and that will decide which vein I'm gonna go with this year. Onto my fletching jig. It is a right helical jig, and for my settings, I just moved it to where I have a pretty good helical where it's not too much where it's hard to put a vein on, but just right at the max. I also have two marks on here, and that's just where I set for my offset on my veins. Installing these veins, I'll just set it to one of my marks, and for the next vein will be put on the other mark. And once I rotate through all four, and makes a pretty cool pattern. Putting glue on these veins, I just put a light bead all the way down through there. And what I like to do is have a Q-tip, because you will sometimes have a little more glue than you want. So I just use that Q-tip to wipe the excess glue off of the arrow. Makes it real nice and clean. When I set down my vein, I like to go on an angle so it pushes out any kind of air bubbles that I might have, and works really well. I hold the vein on to the arrow for about 35 to 40 seconds per each vein. Now for weighing my arrows, I just had a kitchen scale. So I'm gonna calculate grams into grains. And for my first arrow, I got the hybrid and putting on a 100 grain broadhead. This is what I'll be using for hunting. And with it showing 34 grams, I calculated in, it would be about 524 grains. On my next arrow, I put down, it showed up as 35, so it is a little bit heavier using them bigger vanes. Alright, so I fletched both arrows, one with Max and one with the hybrids. So I like the look of the hybrid, but the Max, as you can tell, let's see if I can get it where you can really see. Super big helical, so I bet this one's gonna fly super well. These fly really well too, but I'm gonna shoot probably about a longer distance, 60 yards, and try to get it in slow motion of these two arrows and see which one performs the best. And off that, I'm gonna decide if I want to go with the Max or the hybrids. So I did add a 100 grain insert on these, so a lot different than last year. So I'm gonna shoot my bow, just get it fine tuned, and then we can see the difference on these. I'm going to put lighted nocks on. I bought these last year, Deep Power. They're like a Chinese brand, but did it last year and they worked really well. I was very shocked, very bright. They're kind of like the nocturnals, but as you can see, they got a little switch right there. You turn them on and off. It's a plunger type nock. So so far last year they worked really well, and they all light up still today. So I'm gonna put them on these. They might change the weight of the arrow just a little bit. Probably not a whole lot though. So as soon as these dry in a couple hours, I'm gonna go out there and shoot them and see how they do. Now I'm just changing out the nocks to the lighted nocks, and in the package they come with sleeves so you can match the correct fitness for your arrow, and it was just super easy. And putting the nocks in, it was super snug and tight fit, so they work really well. Before I shot these arrows, I wanted to make sure my arrows were paper tuned, and so I went over to my good friend Kevin Vandalick's house, and where he built his own paper target. It was super easy. Had some scrap wood and some paper, and I'm glad I paper tuned my arrows, because over the year my strings have stretched, and was able to move my rest and start shooting bullet holes with my arrows. For my first shots, I was shooting at 20 yards and just getting my bow dialed in and getting it sighted in for 20, and then I'd slowly work my way back to 30 to 45 and getting everything dialed in. There's the problem with that one. You've got to turn your vanes where everything's going to have clearance. and it's super close to the drop away. For me to feel comfortable, I'd probably have to move everything forward. So probably gonna stick with the hybrids, but shooting these, I haven't noticed a difference. Well, practicing with these arrows, I found out what really helps me is if I got a really small target to aim at. Let's see if I can move this camera around. I got this little nock. That's going to be my aiming point. And instead of just aiming at this big circle, it seems like my pin just keeps floating around. So if I can aim at that and my pin's just floating right here, I'm more accurate. So shooting these arrows, I can't really tell a whole lot of difference. The Max vanes, they are a little bit heavier, so on longer ranges, I know like probably about 45 yards, I can kind of tell that they shoot maybe a half inch to inch low, but that's hard to tell because a lot of it could be human error. But between both of them, they shoot really well. I'd probably go with the hybrids just because of the clearance for my bow, and they seem like they're a lot quieter too than the Max when they're flying in the air. But both really perform really well. But right now I'm just kind of fine tuning it to where I start smacking arrows, and once that's going on, I'll slowly work my way back. I did have to move my sight tape, knowing that I did 100 grain inserts in these. I found out that it's about a 10-yard difference from my old arrows. So that 100 grains definitely slows my arrow down a lot. So I'm thinking next year I'm not going to go as heavy. I might do a 50 grain insert instead of 100. And that way I can kind of get my speed back. But other than that, they shoot really well. The whole big reason of going to a 100 grain insert was to get a little bit better FOC. I noticed on Schwackers, one of my favorite broadheads to use for mechanical, I really like to have that pass through. And I've had a couple deer where I've hit them and they haven't passed through. And it's really hard to get a blood trail just off that inch to 3/4 inch hole that the blades come into. And you know, the exit wound, if you get an exit wound on a Schwacker, you got like a 2-inch cut. So, but you definitely want your pass through cut on a Schwacker, just for a blood trail reason. Now I've shot a lot of deer with them and they didn't pass through and they fall over and die, but I'm not finding the blood trail that I like to see. So I'm trying different broadheads, but Schwacker is a really good blade. So I'm gonna shoot a couple more times, get it fine tuned. But when it comes to the hybrids or the Max, I'm gonna go with the hybrids this year. And same pattern I always been doing, you know, the offset, right helical. Why change it if it's always been good? So the same settings, just different vanes, and testing it out. I almost hit it, but not a bad group. These two are almost touching. This one could have been me, but other than that, it's really close, super close. 20-yard group, but they're shooting really well. These will be the ones I go with this year. They seem to do really good. Another thing I noticed on these is the wind. It's a little windy here, so it could have had a little effect with that too. But other than that, they shoot really well.